Welcome to Single Line number 179. My name is David Martin. We're happy that you're here with us this evening. We had a few technical hiccups. You'd think by this point we would know what we're doing with Zoom, but we are still figuring things out every month. We have 5 fantastic poets for you. And so we're going to get right to it. Our first poet this evening is Charlie Petch, who is a disabled, queer, transmasculine, multidisciplinary artist who resides in Toronto, Toronto. A poet, playwright, librettist, musician, lighting designer, and host, Petch was the 2017 Poet of Honor for Speak North and winner of the Golden Beret Lifetime Achievement in Spoken Word with the League of Canadian Poets in 2020. Most recently, their first full-length poetry collection, Why I Was Late, is out with Brick Books, and their libretto, Medusa's Children, is with Opera QTO. So please welcome Charlie Petch.
Thank you. I just starting my stopwatch. There we go. Stop. Okay, never mind. Anywho, yeah, thank you so much for having me here. And it's a real honor to be back working with Shelf Life Books again. I suspect we'd be great friends if we were in the same town, because all I hear is how great Shelf Life is. And just really proud to be here. I am in Toronto, which is the proper territories of the Haudenosaunee, of the Huron-Wendat, and the Mississaugas of the New Credit. And I guess like right now, you know, to be in solidarity with Indigenous people, just to like put it out there, right now in the Wet'suwet'en people are being attacked by the RCMP. Even though, as you know, you're living in the West, there's been catastrophic climate emergencies happening. But somehow during this, about 30 RCMP have been dispatched instead to take down the Wet'suwet'en checkpoint. So it's if you can amplify that, that is a great way to be in solidarity. I am on Twitter as @SawPoet, and I tend to amplify these things. So if you want to include yourself in this work to save the environment and really also to show the respect that our Indigenous people have deserved for far too long and given far too little of. So yeah, and yeah, I want to say I'm very excited to be here, and I was doing a little bit dulcimer at the beginning, and this is something that goes along with some of my poems. I am a musician as well. And so a lot of my poems have a sound element to them. And in the book, I tend to have little liner notes, which say, you know, what would be played. If I was sitting in your living room doing this poem for you, this is what I would be playing. And for this one, I said the dulcimer, but because I played so much dulcimer during the little wait time, I figured I should whip out the toy accordion instead. Okay, I'll play it a little bit further away than I would the dulcimer. It's very loud. Okay, here we go. We'll just accent with it. Okay. This is called, since we're all meeting, perhaps for the very first time, perhaps again, I wanted to do this poem called Things You Didn't Know About Me. Okay. When I was 5, I put flags on all the anthills in my driveway because I had no other friends to save. I used to ghostwrite a blog for male enhancement products. I'd have sex with my fictional girlfriend and write reviews of the performance. Okay. I let gibberish happen when I am alone to relieve myself of disability. Ever since I got a strap-on, I've really been able to maintain an erection. While working as a best boy, I opened a drawer labeled Just Legs at a morgue. I've always wanted a gay grandfather, but this doesn't mean I never wish to be alive. I constantly strive to outlive my dog. And then I did. I once hitchhiked with sports expose novelist and shunned knuckleballer Jim Bouton, the creator of Big League Chew, everybody. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. So it's Trans Awareness Week this week. For the rest of the year, the other 51 weeks, I will become wallpaper at a motel along Highway 6. But for this week, I have appeared. I exist amongst other trans people. And it's, I'm joking, but like it's super important to me. As I was waiting, actually, I realized that originally I was invited to come and do this show on this date, and I was actually supposed to be having top surgery like today. I'm surprised I forgot it. It's been canceled so many times due to the pandemic and other things. Yeah, so just like had a little moment of that. And really, had we had access to our language, around trans and non-binary identities, I would have probably been on puberty blockers. I knew for a long time that I was this. I just didn't have the words for it. And like so many other people like me, I just felt completely alone in that. So I'm really happy for like the experiences that people who are younger than me are having now. I mean, like, a lot of you probably didn't grow up with queer groups in your schools. I know I didn't. All I had was drama. So I went headfirst into drama. So this is a poem that talks about this moment when I was 6, and it does a few things. So this is called "Why Did the Trans Kid Cross the Road?" And the little epitaph says, in 2019, Ontario's newly elected provincial Conservative government scheduled a debate about the existence of trans and non-binary people and gave a hotline number to report teachers talking about gender identity or respecting pronouns. Our former Liberal government had made it essential for schools to welcome trans and non-binary identities. So here we go. So number 1. I am 6 years old. My identity has no words. The crossing guard asked me if I'm a boy or a girl. My mouth is a goldfish. I start to cry. He asks again, and because he sounds mean, I say, "Girl?" I don't know what to do with the feeling that this is a lie, and I almost throw up from the rush. 2. I imagine this incident as a recent one, occurring under our former, more inclusive government. When the crossing guard asks me if I'm a boy or a girl, I tell him I'm transmasculine. I tell him my pronouns and that my name is Charlie. Maybe he's still mean, but now he can't say anything. 3. I imagine I am that kid today. This morning, our new government has instructed schools that trans and non-binary identities aren't real. I approached the crossing guard. Yesterday, I told him my name and pronouns. Today, he is holding them as a handful of blades. He asked me, "Are you a boy or a girl?" And I know it's mean. He grips the pronouns. My blood spills from his hands. I run. He doesn't stop the cars. Thank you. So this is like, a lot to do with this book is, it's not only like a sort of a chronological thing of my life, from being a little trans boy, all those relationships with men, like as trans masculine people, we tend to really study masculinity a lot and try and fit into ways that are sometimes unhealthy. And so a lot of it, some of it occurs while I'm being a lighting person in film. Some of it occurs while I am. Some of this book is about losing my husband. My husband passed away. So it is about grief. It is about sexual violence. It is about decolonization, and it's also about how sexy I think Chewbacca is, and how much I like popping back sits. So if that's the kind of poetry you like, I would highly recommend this book from Brick Books. You should get it, and let's see what I'm at. Oh, okay, I have some time. So I wanted to do just maybe yeah, I'll do this one, and it's sort of like being a kid, and it's like thinking about where people start before they become violent, or before they get to a space where they don't feel they can come back from. And that certainly happened to a friend of mine. I still get to see him every now and then. He's much more peaceful now. And this is called Stealing Candy at the Movies. You always stole the candy we'd eat during the library's Thursday thrillers, but never spoke of where they took your mother. Banana marshmallows for the man with x-ray eyes, candy corn for Nosferatu, Swedish berries for the invasion of the body snatchers. Though our Catholic school said that stealing was a sin, I always felt you were owed more in this life and never questioned your thefts. Just like how we never questioned why the library showed these movies to 10-year-olds. As we got older and your candy turned into glue bags you'd never share with me, and scary movies always failed in comparison to your life, I watched the boy I loved morph into a lost skinhead who ran faster than nightmares and always into the arms of a family, any family that would have you. Thank you. So I wanted to, thank you. So I wanted to, I think I've just got 2 minutes left, and I wanted to end on the final poem, actually, because once again, it's trans awareness. And yeah, so for like 40 years of my life, I fooled everybody into thinking that I was a woman, so crazy. And now I wrote a poem about it, and it's called I'm So Good at Drag. Okay, so it goes like this. Normally there's this like whole weird sound noise thing I do. So you'll have to just invite me over to your living room to do that. Okay, here we go. I'm so good at drag, I got the doctor to put female on my birth certificate. I'm so good at drag that my parents called me Catherine. Like the queen. I'm so good at drag that I got the job and overperformed and still didn't get promoted. But I did get sexually harassed and my ideas stolen. I'm so good at drag that my boy band tried to pay me less than the other guys. I'm so good at drag that I am allowed to cry in public, be excused from manual labor. And when I say stuff like, I wish I could give birth, nobody laughs at me. Okay, actually, I just want to let you know I don't actually want to give birth. It's just like a point I was trying to make about how we treat people when they say that they want to give birth, and we look at them and we don't think that they're the gender that should give birth. That's just really weird, because people have that like inert thing, like cis men have that inert thing to carry a baby, and like it is a real grief. Okay. I'm so good at drag that some of my cis male partners thought that we were having straight sex the whole time. I'm so good at drag that some of you don't understand what this poem is about. Okay, thank you, everybody. I look forward to hearing the rest of the readers. Of course, you can pick this little baby up at Shelf Life Books if you are not living in the glorious city of Calgary. You can also order it from brickbooks.ca. If you have a look, there's a little shop local thing, and you can support your local independent bookstore by having them order in my book. And I thank you all for your time.
Thanks so much, Charlie. I'm glad you could be with us this evening.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
All right, our next poet this evening is Kirk Miles. Kirk Miles, his poems have been produced on CBC's Alberta Anthology, and his poetry has been published in journals across Canada. His book, The Last 6 Minutes of Elvis, was published by Touchwood Press in 2001. And in 2009, his book, Of Ash, of Brick, of Water, was published by Plan B House. In the fall of 2007, Bravo aired a half-hour special on his life as a poet, playwright, and clown. Kirk's book, Hotel on the Cliffs of the Heart, was completed in 2011 and published by B House Publishers. In 2012, Kirk won the Golden Beret Award, a Lifetime Achievement Award in Poetry presented by the Calgary International Spoken Word Festival. And Moving Dust, Poems About the Holocaust, was published in the summer of 2015. Currently, with a grant from the Alberta Foundation for the Arts, Kirk is working on a 5th book of poems titled Window Opening to Sky. So please welcome Kirk Miles.
Hello, everybody. Boy, listening to that bio made me tired. Here we go. This is from Window Opening to Sky, which is due soon. It's due at the end of November. You know, you get a grant to write a book of poems and you're constantly bragging to everybody, hi, I got a grant to write a book of poems. But then you have to actually write the poems, which is, kind of off-putting. But I've been working hard, and my way I work, I basically work on several poems at a time. And when I get bored with one, I just put it aside. So as the deadline's approaching, I've been finishing several poems a day. So it's really cool to have that. So rather than try and pick the best ones, I thought I'd just pick 5 or 6 randomly. And here we go. This first one's called Tock from Heaven. Visiting my cancer-ridden friend, doctors give him 3 weeks or less. He is elated that his hockey team won. It's not like I'm going to see them take the cup. Small victories. I can't wait to find out what is on the other side, like he was skiing an uncharted back ridge or something. Perhaps you could text me when you know. And he laughs, then says, what if there is no self-service, just nothingness? Suddenly silence caresses his cheek like a caring ghost. Angels bum dial home. His levity in the face of time ending is unsettling. Divorced because of too many jokes. With frail fingers, he passes me a card. Free coffee and muffin. It expires when I do. This time, no laughter. A quivering voice, and I now notice his tear ducts are red-eyed empty. Now he is talking to an absent daughter. I should have taken you to Paris like I promised. Eyes closed and buried in the white starched pillow. I don't check the expiry date as I walk out with the coupon in my sweaty hands. Okay, this next one is called Concrete Motel, and I actually chose this one because of how hard it is to get to BC right now. It's called Concrete Motel. The snow started 1 hour out of town. Here, 2 highways pass through the Rocky Mountains, and they are both shut down. Trapped in a pancake house parking lot, the RCMP tap on my window, hoping I'm not frozen to death. Everything now is a metaphor for goodbye. What did I expect from her CEO dad? I was out of her league from the beginning. A blue collar aperitif on her way to a Romani entree. Nothing is more lonesome than a single candle under 2 feet of snow. Morning brings a diffused light. The blue sky is now telling the story. Nothing is more blinding than the sun on 2 feet of snow. I drive into my glaring destiny behind 6 semi-trucks and a Volkswagen van. 8 fluffy, down-covered goslings following a mother goose snowplow. This next one is called The Seed. Sure, dried out, but maybe not ruined. Something in there we cannot see or know. So much drama for such a tiny orb, and to think it made civilization, this tiger in a shell. A latent monument silently pining for water and sand, potential's biggest synonym, and all these unanswered questions concerning flower, vegetable, or tree. We spent a lazy afternoon in January, relaxed and sprawled on that ugly floral comforter we got from my mother. Those were fighting seeds with tails, came with their own cave and wetness, then crowning from the uterus, the little head. The shoot pokes out much slower, carrot, daisy, or oak, then screams at the sun. I was a silent seed. Now look at me. I live. Okay. This one's kind of heavy. I'm not sure I like it, but anyways, I got picked. It's called City Dump. A bulldozer butting back the gluttony of our lives, and so, like flies off a corpse, screeching and wheeling, a colony of seagulls takes flight. Rotting rubbish blends to make one puke-inducing stench. I am standing on my own tailgate when I notice him. The putrid steam rising off the heaps of unwanted human waste could be his heart. He is not just emptying a truck, he is flinging his shattered life away. Everything he sets airborne is done with contempt. First, the perfectly good cabinet, expensive walnut and frost-beveled glass, shattering like the sound of a stiletto crushing marbles. 2 different sized children's bikes, pink and blue cliches, both now immaculate, flying venom. This is not about decluttering. This is about the cunt bitch whore slut in the picture frame he tries to punt kick but misses. I can't watch, but I'm compelled to keep this drama in my peripheral. My load finished, I drive away, and he is kneeling and sobbing in the bed of his half-empty Dodge, clutching a snow-white duvet like a real man Kleenex. Okay, 2 more for fun. This one's called Rehearsing for Death. I have come to love the mornings. Wearing a white lace nightgown, my daughter ran pretending to be Laura from Little House on the Prairie, the library, Canadian Tire, and the dentist. Everywhere was a golden wheat field. Never put people in a box, she tells me. Boxes are for dead people. I have come to love the afternoons and cleaned out the garage. Now the sun through a delicate tapestry blinds makes joyous shadows across the dining room table. And though the thought fox pounces reddish leaves falling from wind-tickled trees. I've come to love the evenings as Sept Portos turn dead things into breath and pokes away the inertia of my bones, while the Venus snaps the feeding fly, and somewhere a sun flare, a hydrogen dragon we will never see or know. I have come to love the night, for darkness changes everything. The chainsaw that will cut the wood and release memory has not yet been yanked to life, and chirping birds are asleep, and every moment is wrapped in blackness and possibility. I have come to love this practice demise, using all these characters for truth and lies. Okay. We're doing well. How are we doing for time, Dave? Excellent. I'm going to leave you with this last poem, though. This one I actually picked because it's one of my faves out of the manuscript so far. It's called 50 Unique Ways to Hold a Bird. Perhaps tenderly, like you would pick up a transplant heart in a cooler of ice. Or if it is dead, maybe grip it by the legs so the broken swan neck dangles by your knees. Clasp it so you can whisper in its ear the word cynophobia, meaning the irrational fear of snow, which we all know is just water droplets banished from heaven. Then grasp several at once with your jealous stare as they soar where you can only glare. Maybe trap one with your memory of that stunned sparrow thump against the window pane. Neck grab the screeching magpie as you clip away fishing line where you found him flapping and imprisoned in the indifferent Caragana hedge, who now caws savior around your head and fetches you tiny objects and things that are dead. Pinch the hummingbird and clutch the hen, but always tether the falcon to your leather fist. Then, after all this time of gliding and sweeping skies, release the shackles of the owl and the sandpiper and the wren. Watch their lover, the wind, carry them far away from men. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm dying to hear other people's poems, and here we go.
It was really great to hear your new work. That was fantastic. All right. Our next poet this evening is Dymphny Dronic, who is a qualified mediator and also a poet, editor, translator, and a story doula. She is passionate about the magic of story and has woven words for money and for love for more than 30 years. She has facilitated unique writing and conflict resolution workshops across Canada. Her volume of poetry, Contrary Infatuations, was shortlisted for the Pat Lowther Award and the Stephan G. Stephansson Award for Poetry. She's co-publisher and co-editor at House of Blue Skies Publishing, whose best-selling anthologies include 2014's The Calgary Project, a city map in verse and visual. Dymphny has served on the boards of the Southern Alberta Brain Injury Society, Writers Guild of Alberta, the League of Canadian Poets, and the Creative Nonfiction Collective. So please welcome Dymphny Dronic.
Thank you, everybody, for being here, spending your Thursday evening with us. And thank you so much to all the folks at Shelf Life and at Single Onion. It's such a wonderful, generous reading series, and I'm very grateful to be included again. I'm going to read the poem that is in this Wondershift anthology. It's part of a suite of poems about climate change that I've been working on for way too many years, I think. And I'll read a couple others from that series as well. So this is called Climate Change Suite Number 1, Losing Blue. And it's inspired by a documentary highly recommended by James Baylog called Chasing Ice, about disappearing glaciers. I am obsessed with blues, words for blue, for climate change, for this apocalyptic shift in the norm, fixated with statistics, scientific proof, the inevitable and exponential melt of the mighty polar ice, Weeks of nightmares where my homeland drowns. Epic storms extinguish our cities and my children's futures blow away with the Gobi. Not a slow melt, not over centuries or even generations. This radical change is measured in months, in kilometers, blues draining away to gray, the fate of humanity and all of Earth's creatures cast adrift in a riptide of indifference. Screens fill with 1,000 shades of blue, every nuance of white, eons of snow and ice, glaciers more ancient than thought, mind-numbing cold and wind. Baylog's cameras document the relentless erosion, glaciers calving, a slab the size of Manhattan rearing up like the last raging gasp of a mythical beast as oceans swell and the Arctic loses its blues, aquamarine prisons dying in a wasteland of mud. We don't think about ice enough, the crucial white space that bookends our world map. As we hurtle around our broiling sun, spewing CO2, our collective imagination limited to bigger vinyl siding, condos, faster cars, insatiable consumption, instead of a deeper quiet, darker forests, and glacial blues. And I'm as guilty as anyone. My life so full of noise and plastic and gas pumps. One despondent poem, no kind of solution, just one drop of antidote in a poisoned ocean. My voice lost with the others in this superstorm of fear and bias and willful ignorance. Too many words, not enough action. Blue, turquoise, azure, luminous, gray, grunge, dirt, done, ashen, emissions, debate, consequences, disappear. Without blues, the spectrum loses its balance. Blue is hope, is fresh water, is renewal. May our fervent whispers become rallying cries. May mankind shift from infestation to resolution. May our blue, blue earth spin itself free before it is nothing more than hot rocks circling a burned out sun. I chose these last week, and it's a little bit uncanny given what happened over the weekend and is continuing to go on in BC, where many of my friends and some of my family is impacted by all of this. This is Climate Change Suite number 4, Petroplanet Normalcy. In May, mere days after the snow has finally melted from the longest, coldest winter in 80 years, wildfire smoke blew in from the coast, choked Calgary, snuffed the light like it was August, like we already lived on Mars. All summer in the Midwest, it didn't quit pouring, roads erased by torrents, cul-de-sacs, the new wetlands, rooftops, the new stoops. Mold sprouts in homes where desert air used to crack furniture, a maelstrom of tornadoes in spots they've never been seen. By August, 600 kilometers northwest of Anchorage, chum wash up along Arctic riverbanks, their egg sacs still perfectly intact. The heat, they say, freak heat for days, fish poached before they spawn. On Edmonton radio, they speak of hail the size of baseballs, of grapefruit, not joking, chuckle darkly about the summer that never came, and remind listeners to bring their down jackets to the Volksfest. Milan and Paris swelter unfashionably as flowers wilt in Amsterdam, and record-breaking heat kills thousands, but the Instagram tourists, jetting around by the thousands, gloat about the blue sky that frames their perfect image as they trample the locals and toss plastic bottles filled with what's left of the aquifer over their shoulders without a backward glance. Welcome to the new normal, we say. Nothing will be right ever again. And this is from a suite of poems about smoke. This one is number 3, Destruction. All this long, hot summer, sky glowers purple. Smoke eats the mountains and our joy. Fires blaze in the valleys and across the plains. I struggle to breathe. My lungs, hot pokers, count our blessings because we are not displaced, gutted, dreams not up in smoke. Each night I dream of how my dad and I watched our cabin burn so many moons ago, canning jars exploding into the melting snow, cedar trees wilting in the clearing, but thank all the gods, not catching fire. Even our dogs are nervous this summer, quiver at the unseen, the oppressive air. I cannot breathe deeply enough to escape and weep at the nightly news, even though we are lucky, not burned out. My tears salt your skin, your hair, our home, the whole world eroded by smoke, under siege. And I'm going to finish with a pandemic postcard. It's kind of a prose poem. It's called Postcard to My Best Friend in Ottawa. Dear boy, I miss you. I watch the front steps from my spot on the couch, waiting, but you never come. It is so quiet now. Many days, even the human with the hands full of papers doesn't stop by. Mom is quiet too, when she is not talking to one of the flat people who stay inside her boxes. We stay together. She doesn't go to work. That is nice, except that she is sad all the time. I feel it. She only goes out to get food, and when she comes home, she wipes all the good smells off with something that makes my eyes sting. She brings me extra treats and shares her cookies. I've never seen her eat so many cookies. She eats supper lying on the couch and feeds me bites from her fork. I like that too. We go on long walks, but we never play with anyone anymore. People scare her, I think. And we scare people too, just by being outside. We wander in the tall grass full of mosquitoes, or stay in the trees, never on the path. Something has happened. It has stolen Mom's laughter. I don't understand, boy. Can you come home and make the world feel right again? Love, Dog. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, Tiffany. That was really fantastic. It was great to hear your work. Next up, we have Vivian Hansen. Vivian has published poetry, essays, and memoir in Canadian journals and anthologies. She has 4 poetry books. The first is Ley Lines of My Flesh from 2002, Angel Alley from 2004, and A Bitter Mood of Clouds from 2013 from Frontenac House, and in 2017, A Tincture of Sunlight, also from Frontenac. Vivian teaches creative writing with the University of Calgary and the Alexander Writers Center. She is currently working on a novella entitled The Book of Ferns and finishing her next poetry collection entitled Crawl Space. She has an essay in You Look Good for Your Age from the University of Alberta Press in 2021, and poetry in the Mothering Anthology from Inanna Press 2022. So please welcome Vivian Hansen.
Thank you, David, and everyone at Shelf Life, and everyone who's turned out tonight. I love being the 4th one in, so I can hear everybody's great poetry. Feel humbled. Since this is Transgender Month as well, I was really moved by Charlie's work and felt that because my one poem in Wondershift is about my mother, I wanted to talk a bit about her father's cousin, Arna Peterson, who received sex reassignment in Copenhagen in 1953, about 6 months after Christine Jorgensen. And it's all Danish. So I just wanted to read this one called Anna Dreams of Sand. before I get into Wondershift. The first stagger toward religion lunges into mystery. Anna's stumble transforms into a confident stride. Great ships harbor in Copenhagen, a grand city where mysteries held in the hand resonate and ricochet within a conch. Anna holds hope in the subterfuge of sand, her toes cold between these minuscule pebbles. She is jealous of the sea's ability to sleep. She is envious of shells, their vast numbers on these sands, a mockery that lies there, rounded and pearled, waiting for somersaults of their embryo to scratch and surf their sides, smear their walls. Anna visits the Rehearsing enough to recognize the seasons of sand, visits these beaches after her appointments with the professor who welcomed her plight as a challenge. Dr. Sand shows her how he would fashion a shell around the slick offense of her body. He documents the stubble of her beard. He examines the limp seahorse between her legs. He gapes at the thick flaxen braids that crown her head. These braids are the only plates that she trusts, residual symbols of her worth. Her hands can curl them into any shape. She spots envy in the eyes of women, evades the gaze of men, whose eyes enact fantasy beside, inside, and with her tresses. Dr. Sand listens to the strange alto of Anna's voice, the echoes of despair inside the conch of this woman made man. Dr. Sand declares her a rare shell. It has never been quite enough to hear from her mother that she is special. Anna wants to hear new voices, litanies of affirmation. Every hair on your head is counted. Doxologies of faith. He will call upon me and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and honor him. With a long life, I will satisfy him and let him behold my salvation. Him, Anna, will be Arna. Ham Arna, him, Arna. In 1939, Dr. Sand says he will make Arna from the lips of a woman. And Anna has lived too long with only the rib of a man, the residue of bone. Dr. Sand will fashion beauty from the grotto, the verb of a woman, into noun, the name of a man. The Norn weird sucks at a wishbone, this time refusing the game with Skull, who will want more than her due. This bone satisfies her temporarily. Her taste for completion is a new desire each morning, new meat, new bones, new taste. Dr. Sand is cautious. His work is done behind bolted doors at the Rehearsing. He is afraid of Nazis. For himself, for Anna, who will become Arna. They are hunting Jews, homosexuals, gypsies. They bully and terrorize like the very roar of Thor against all the sea green hiding places. Dr. Sand fears that if he fashions a new shell for Anna now, her sex will endanger her, lift her like a bloodied boar to the Germans. Anna has hidden for 40 years inside a dress. The masquerade can continue until Dr. Sand feels it's safe to shapeshift. Anna goes home to the comforting presence of the bog in Frislo, knows the warmth of her mother's arms. She can still find work as a maid, wait out the war hunt. Verdandi, the Norn, removes the joy of her pink dress, sleeks a sea green dancing mist over her limbs, enters the bog slowly, fearlessly, sinks into cool depths, the old mud urging her downward. For now, she will call herself a sacrifice. And I'm just going to read from my poem in Wondershift now. It's short and sweet. It's It's called Mapping Lilacs in Rain. And I'm very grateful to the editors of this work who, after the death of my partner, decided that I could submit very, very late. And so it has some real resonance for me. A mauve star dares to touch my mother's black hair. We amble on a quiet Crescent Heights street, hedged in lilacs. Maybe it is June 1960. A round number year before a waxing summer solstice, and so close to my birthday. A thunderhead looms in the east, and she names it as dire worry. Viskogoyemno, as she points to the sky in a teachable moment. Thunder is a god in her tongue, and I know the danger. It is about to rain and thunder. Yes, we will go home right away, although we have barely begun to walk. I think she may have clutched my hand, like the hold of her palm squeezing lilacs. The scent she drew in was the same breath as my own in that moment. 50 years of lilacs and words and rain and her final halted breaths beneath a mask of wet. And this is how she comes to me in June, a few weeks after her death. As a scent, a few Danish phrases, her cloudy voice. Now I walk these streets each summer, catching the attention of people who ask me, what are you looking for? I shake my head and smile, filled with the scent of lilacs. Ba min mo, I think, in Danish, before I respond with a phrase that gives me away as a strange woman, but a little bit less crazy. Just a mother, I say, to throw them off the scent. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Vivian. That was great to hear your work from the new Wondershift anthology. And I think June was saying they have some copies at Shelf Life, so people can check that out. That's fantastic. Before we get to our final poet, I just have a couple of thank yous and little announcements that I want to say. If you want to find out more about The Single Onion, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we've got a website, singleonion.com, and we've got an email list that you can sign up for on the website to get a monthly update about our events. I want to give a big thanks to the Canada Council for the Arts, the League of Canadian Poets, the Calgary Arts Development, and the Writers Guild of Alberta for helping to support The Single Onion. And I especially want to say thanks to Shelf Life Books for being our virtual co-host. And hopefully soon we'll be back in doing in-person events. It's really nice to gather that literary community together, to talk with other writers and kind of, I think people are kind of missing that aspect of these events is sort of chatting with other poets and folks from the community. After this, The Single Onion will be back in January with our lecture series, which is sponsored by the Calgary Arts Development, so I'm excited for that. Yeah, so our final poet this evening is Pamela Medland. She was born and raised in Vancouver, but now spends most of her time in Calgary. Her work has been published in literary journals such as the Dalhousie Review, Freefall Magazine, Grain, Heart House Review, the Prairie Journal, Spadina Literary Review, and Room. As well, work is forthcoming in Prairie Fire and Literary Heist. You can find her work in anthologies such as YYC Pop and the new Wondershift anthology from the Alexander Writer Center. Pam's poetry has been shortlisted in contests sponsored by Geist and Freefall, and her poem Shooting Stars was nominated for a 2019 Pushcart Prize. Her debut collection is Echo of Ash, which was published by Vivian Hansen's Passwords Enterprise. And when she's not reading or writing poetry, Medlen serves as the director for the Airdrie Public Library. So please welcome Pamela Medland.
Thanks, David. Well, it's an honor to be here. Some hard acts to follow, but thank you to Shelf Life Books, who's carrying a copy of this debut collection, if anybody's interested in picking up a copy. And thanks to, of course, for Vivian's confidence in me in publishing this book. I really appreciate it. So I'm just going to share the title poem with you from Echo of Ash, which was published in July. And then I thought I would take the opportunity to share some newer work. So this poem is called Echo of Ash. I hold your box of ashes to my ear. Listen for sounds of us on a weekend, eggs frying, kettle boiling, slap of stick in garage, reverberation of puck on wall, your voice reading a story. In the days before furnaces were so proficient, when bodies were burnt on headlands and beaches, it might have been a finger bone or a tooth someone listened to. I hold your box of ashes to my ear and hear the sound clouds make when they are making snow. A quiet, endless becoming. Now, I was very honored to be in Wondershift. I think a couple of you have read from that tonight, and I thought I would read one of my two poems that's in there. This one is called The Interior. I was very sad not to make the Wondershift launch, so it's great to be able to share it with you this evening. The landscape alters at its own pace, sudden and startling, or barely perceptible, a shadow in the friendly dark that changes everything. Here where the lake glows blue electric, I see colors bleed and mix, vistas shuffle in a sifting light. White skulls once littered these slopes, cattle lost to cold, disease, wolves, sage dry tumbled. Now the landscape has softened, rock cracks, blossoms, dust turns to mud, green hills rise in the morning. I search for my spiny past, cacti to stick on my jeans, bones to rattle in a mason jar. But daily my skin regenerates, hair drops, the lining of my mouth sheds, and I am born again. Fresh stories tumbling on each new palette. And oh yeah, Sharon, thank you. Sharon is still here. I'm going to read this little prose poem that I wrote kind of in honor of her. We took a prairie road trip this summer, all the way from Calgary to Winnipeg and back again. And I was very honored to have Sharon as my guide. And I think I see the prairie through slightly different eyes, and I hope she won't be offended, but it's called Prairie Road Trip, July 2021. Spring wheat stitches wind, needles a cloudless sky. Over the rise, bush tooths blue, a long memoried windbreak, broken and gapped. These bluffed trees, this scrubby boundary meant to dike death, still hold against a swash of blistered gold. Combines, large as cabins, scuttle in gilt, their ruby carapace a slash of color on toasted bristle. In each farmyard, stilted rockets tattoo in close formation, their thin legs stapling prairie to sky. On a solitary fence post, an orange flag. Bison a rumor, oxen shrunk to steer. In this unlikely landscape of bug juice and sandbox toys, we traverse history, navigate a tale of hunger and despair. Métis, Cree, Nickneat. When we least expect it, chemical fallow scalds the earth. Thanks. So I just came back from a wonderful workshop on poetry of witness in Honeymoon Bay on Vancouver Island. And, you know, it was put on by Laura Apal, who's done a lot of poetry about the Rwandan genocide. And when we all went there, we thought, oh God, what do we have to say about, these big issues? And the takeaway was, of course, that everybody's life is meaningful. Everybody has something to witness in their life. And this was one of the poems that I wrote there. It's called Security Camera. Putting on her face, she kisses the child who wakes without her, sends her best self into the morning, walks across the film in gray half-light, silent until they find her bones, white and singing on the soft green moss. Clamoring for existence, she insists she was here. But this thin, thin opening, this slit to tomorrow, traps yesterday's desire. I think I got a couple more minutes, David, is that correct? Okay, I just got 2 more and then I'll finish up tonight. I'm doing a lot of poems about mythology right now, and just kind of rewriting mythology mostly through the eyes of the women. This one is called Cassandra. Cassandra is a priestess of Troy who resisted a rape and was doomed to foresee the future and have nobody believe her. Cassandra. The city I have seen burning since I was a child, now a skin worn inside out. Annihilation, my release from the burden of vision. Whisper of snake, ear-lecked message of despoilment, rapine. Hiss of rain-soaked ember, acrid earth sting. You who listen not, see this tall citadel vanquished by a cunning hack. Equine, a full-bellied Achaean sleight of hand. I, gripping axe and torch, espy the death of Paris and my own carnelian night. Oh, look away. This chest, this Dionysian visage, a tainted gift of madness. The moon falls jasmine and salt, nautical in a cocksure sky. A journey awaits. Let's call it murder. Such a charming, happy poem. And I'm just going to close up tonight. What an honor to read the last poem. I was in Vancouver in October when they had their first atmospheric river, and I can tell it was really something. And of course, they just had their second one that's led to all this flooding. And I was walking through forest trails on the North Shore that I thought I knew like the back of my hand, and it looked so different. And I also have a brand new grandniece who has the wonderful name of Frankie Bell. So I wrote this poem for Frankie Bell. Frankie Bell's cheeks are rose peach. She smells of new infant and old milk. Bundled in a green baby Yoda sleeper, she looks like a forest sprite, a changeling wise beyond her years. Traveling snug in her parents' SUV with its 5-speed wiper blades and heated seats, Frankie Bell sleeps through the cloudburst, travels peacefully over the gash transecting forest and slope. I hope one day she will discover this path, enter the woods as Mosquito Creek rises, rages white, drowns salal and fern. My gift to her is a cave clawed from clay, dank in a firestorm, dry when the sky breaks open and the mountain slides to the sea. So, thank you everybody for listening and for having me, Single Onion. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Pam. That was fantastic. And I want to say thanks to all 5 of our poets this evening, Charlie, Vivian, Dymphny, Pamela, and Kirk. This was a really fantastic evening of poetry. I'm so glad we could all be here. And again, I want to say thanks to Shelf Life Books for being our online co-host. And if you like what you're hearing from the poets, you can stop by the store and check out their books. You can also browse online. Also, with Charlie's book, you can find it at brookbooks.ca. And yeah, I think that kind of wraps it up. Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Everybody.